Hi, my name is David P. Shapiro. I'm the owner and managing partner of the law office of David P. Shapiro, located in San Diego, California, where my firm helps good people regain control of their future when charged with a crime. This video, I want to talk to you about what's going on in Minneapolis right now. It is March of 2021, and the George Floyd case, and I'm hesitant to even say the George Floyd case because George Floyd's not on trial. Derek Chauvin is. But it's known as the George Floyd case. Derek Chauvin's trial is underway in Minneapolis. Jury selection started the week of March the 8th, and over the next couple of weeks as we get into the spring, this trial will be watched by many, many, many people in this country, many, many people around the world. And, something that we're doing at our firm here is trying to keep up to date on what's happening day in, day out. One, because we're fascinated by it, the uniqueness of this case, which I'll talk about in a second. And also, because we're frequently called upon, for input. What does a criminal defense attorney think about this? What does an experienced firm like ours think about these cases that are garnering national attention and worldwide attention? So, what's really unique about this case, far more unique than the fact that it is a cop or a former cop, a disgraced cop, in the defense chair, it's the fact that we're dealing with a prosecutor. For the most part, they're private prosecutors, they're defense attorneys, they're working in big firms brought in under the umbrella of the Attorney General's office in Minnesota to prosecute the case. There's also the unique factor that the state's own medical examiner, their testimony is likely not to be very favorable when it comes time to whether a jury will convict Derek Chauvin of second-degree murder, because of all these things that we're going to hear about, known as superseding causes, that could have basically led up to or could have been a main factor in George Floyd's death. Things like possible fentanyl ingestion. Was he under the influence of a controlled substance? Did he have, obviously, a pre-existing heart condition? We know that he previously was diagnosed with COVID, and there's been some talk about whether or not he had the presence of some sickle cells, which obviously could have affected his health as well. So all of those factors, which the state's own medical expert talked about as possible superseding causes of Mr. Floyd's death, will factor into the second-degree murder charge, and whether or not a jury believes the only reasonable interpretation of the evidence is that Derek Chauvin was responsible for the second-degree murder of George Floyd. On the opposite end of the spectrum, it's second-degree manslaughter in Minnesota, significantly less penalty, a maximum of 10 years, but requires a whole lot less. So you look at, was Chauvin's actions reckless? Of course they were. We saw that on the video. We saw that on the video, the way that he's got his sunglasses on top of his head. There's really not much of a struggle for the majority, if not all, of those 8+ minutes when he has his knee on George Floyd's back and on George Floyd's neck. And then you look at he's got one hand in the pocket, he's staring at the camera. And the other officer's actions are important here as well when they say, hey, should we get him on his side? So, this idea that he didn't know that this was a dangerous act, that this could have led to death or great bodily injury, is going to be very, 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 very difficult for the defense to overcome. Now, what we also have somewhere in the middle, although probably closer to second-degree murder, is third-degree murder in Minnesota. Kind of unique. We don't have that in California as far as a third-degree murder charge. But now that third-degree murder is back in play, that's something where a jury may wind up basically saying, hey, we don't think it's second-degree murder. We think it's more than second-degree manslaughter. Let's just convict him of third-degree murder. And that could result in a sentence of up to 25 years. Second degree would be up to 40 years. So there are so many interesting things here at play. And what we're dealing with and what we're assessing over the next weeks and months, we're going to be on top of it. So keep an eye out on our firm's social media accounts, our individual attorneys' accounts, my account, Stefano Malea's account, Ali Keegan's account. We're going to try and get as much information out to everybody that follows us on social media and get the word out there so the public is informed, because there are two real types of justice, right? There's justice in a courtroom and there's social justice. And the concern that we have is that, what may play out applying the facts that a jury hears, not all the facts, but the facts that are allowed in a courtroom that a jury hears, may result in a lesser verdict than what a lot of people think is the appropriate verdict. So, it's going to be a tough call, I think, when we get down to third degree murder, when a jury makes that assessment. We're very early in the process, but we look forward to this case, which is, in many ways going to be a groundbreaking case, that'll be a part of this country's fabric for decades to come. And we hope that if nothing else comes out of it, that it initiates long overdue police reform, long overdue police interactions with our communities, particularly our minority communities, our inner city communities. So if you have any questions about this case, you can always reach out to us, 619-295-3555. Again, David Shapiro, Stefano Malea, Ali Keegan. You can follow us, follow our firm on social media, and we'll be posting updates as this case develops as we get into March, April, and May.